Alright guys, picture the scene. You've just bought your Alfa Romeo, your 500 horsepower rear-wheel drive Alfa Romeo, and you want to do a little burnout. That's not too much to ask, is it? Like in every other high-powered rear-wheel drive car, that's a really straightforward, easy thing to do. In this though, not so much. When I say not so much, I mean it's literally impossible. You cannot do a burnout in this. And I know they've tweaked things in various model years, so this might be different for earlier models. But this 2021 one that I've got, 2021 model that I've got, you cannot do a burnout. Now, if you're new to the channel, you're probably thinking, this guy just doesn't know how to do a burnout, because that's what I'd be thinking if I watched someone say this. Let me just show you some of my burnout credentials, if you like. I've done them in everything from like ZF8, which is the same gearbox as this, ZF8 Supra, to manual 350Z, to dual clutch auto, M4, to even the Porsche Cayman GT4 I managed to just about do a burnout. So I'll play some clips of that now just to show that I do actually know what I'm doing roughly. And also just as an excuse to show some burnout clips, because who doesn't want to watch that? Now, to be fair, some of those cars did require some slight modification to allow it to do burnouts. Like, you couldn't do it in the 350Z as standard, because as soon as you touch the brake pedal, it would kill the throttle, which is what happens in this. We'll get onto that. So yeah, that required you to just pull the brake light fuse or to chop a wire that went to the ECU. The thing is, though, in that car, you could chop that wire because it was only there to tell the ECU to cut power when you're on the brake, just to try and save wear on the engine and the brakes, I guess. It wasn't actually that important. In this car, it's a brake-by-wire system, so if you get rid of that wire that goes to the ECU, I guess you just have no brakes. I mean, I think there is some kind of hydraulic backup, which I'd like to test. I'd like to try and find that wire and just disconnect it if you can somehow, and see what actually happens with the braking system, because apparently there is some kind of backup system. So maybe that would allow you to do it. But from what I know, from what I've spoken to people who make a box that kind of helps you do burnouts, which we'll get to in a second, even like with their stuff that communicates with the CAN bus system and the ECU, and even with an ECU flash, I spoke to another tuner who flashes these cars and maps them. Both of those people said you cannot stop this car from cutting the throttle when you're on the brakes. And again, I think that might have changed with the earlier models. I think maybe you could on the earlier models, but on this one, apparently not. So you've probably guessed from the thumbnail and from the whole point of this video, I did manage to make it do burnouts. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing was to buy an aftermarket box that you plug into the OBD port from Squadron tuning. I'll show you that in a second. And that basically has a burnout mode that will let you do burnouts, but under some very specific circumstances, and it's not exactly what I was after, let's put it that way, but it does work. So we'll go through that now. So this is what I got to try and fix that problem. I basically plug this into the OBD port under here. So now, with that plugged in, when we start the car up, we get a load of things we can flick through by pressing the cruise control up and down. And yeah, you can turn traction control and ABS completely off. Obviously it's on at the moment, burnout mode off at the moment, launch assist off. There's actually quite a few interesting things in here. So yeah, you've got like gearbox temperature, engine oil temperature, intercooler temperatures in and out. But for now, all we want is to turn traction control off. So we'll hold the options button down. That'll then turn everything off, and it gives you so many warnings. Like, you've never seen this many warnings on a car before. Because obviously the car is like, oh no, panic. Like, it's still going. We're still going. Still more warnings. I think that's it. Okay, so now I've got to kind of clear through all them by just tapping the thing over here. And we eventually get back to where we started. And now we should be able to do the burnout mode as well. Because this is the thing, right? I thought with traction control off like this, you'd be able to just do it yourself. You know, just use the brake and the throttle to do a burnout yourself. Now that everything's completely turned off and it's in full panic mode where it's not trying to do anything. But unfortunately, that is not the case. What we actually have to do is go to the burnout mode, turn that on, and now without me even touching the brake, if I don't even press the brake pedal, if I just floor the throttle now, it basically acts like a line lock. So the front brakes will be locked and the rears won't. The problem with this, well, there's two problems. One, it's kind of boring because you don't get any control. You're not doing anything yourself. You literally just follow the throttle. That's it. And two, well, actually three problems. Two, the second problem is that you're stuck in N mode. You can't change to any of the other modes or anything. So if you haven't done the exhaust mod that I've done, where the exhaust is loud all the time, the exhaust will be completely silent as well, which is not really what you want when you're doing a burnout. Also, you can't creep forward at all. You have to do a completely stationary burnout, which isn't always desirable. But yeah, the other main problem is that half the time it only spins one wheel. You'll see, we'll try and do one now, and it might just spin one wheel, because that's what it does a lot of the time, because the diff, again, I think partly because you're not in race mode where it changes how the diff locks. I'm not 100% sure if that is the reason, but whatever the reason is, it'll just spin one wheel because it's an electronically controlled diff, and it doesn't think that it wants to lock the diff right now. But yeah, let's give it a go and see what happens. Oh, it looks like it worked alright that time. I did try pressing the brake pedal as well this time, just at the very start, because that apparently makes it better for actually spinning both wheels. So a couple of things to explain about that. First of all, the sound. Why does it sound like an electric car almost, even with the exhaust mod that I've done that makes it louder in normal mode? Basically, as far as I understand, it's actually the sound of the air going around the wheel arch. So obviously as you're spinning the wheels, it's chucking a load of air around in a circle essentially around the tyre. Apparently on modern cars that are like really well, I was going to say ventilated, the opposite of ventilated, I guess, really well sealed around the wheel arches, you get that effect quite a lot. I had the same thing on the Supra. Even with the decat exhaust, you could barely hear it sometimes over just the whooshing sound from the tyres. So that was really annoying, to be honest, when you're doing burnouts, because everyone's like, why does your car sound so silent? All I can hear is tyres. It's not actually the tyres you're hearing, it's the air spinning around the wheel arch. Because, yeah, like tyre squeal, you're not hearing any tyre squeal, are you? You're just hearing like a whoosh, just a sort of sucking sound. And also, I will show you a couple of clips from when I first got that Squadron tuning box and was first testing it out. And this was before the exhaust mod, although, like I say, probably won't make much difference to the sound. But yeah, that was when it was really cold. In fact, I think you can see snow in some of the clips. And in most of these clips, it was only spinning one tyre. You can't really tell from the angle of the video, but yeah, it was not proper burnouts really. But yeah, I'll show you them anyway. So yeah, the OBD box from Squadron Tuning definitely does what it says on the tin. Like I said, I would have preferred it if I could just control it myself. Like once you just put the ABS and everything off, you could just use the left foot brake to just control it and creep forward a bit instead of being forced to do a static burnout. And then also the fact that it forces you into the normal mode, and that's not their fault, that's just the car detects a fault and then it won't let you change modes. That means that it automatically changes gear as soon as it hits the red line. Like I ended up doing that burnout mostly in third gear. I didn't even realise until I looked down. Because it just changes up without you even noticing, which I don't think it does in race mode. I think that'll actually let you stay on the limiter, at least it seems to when I've been like drifting around roundabouts, private roundabouts obviously. Oh yeah, the install process, it's not just as simple as putting something in the OBD port. I forgot to mention this because I did this a while ago. You have to also install a firewall bypass, which is mental that there's a firewall in the OBD port these days. I think just so that only like main dealers can use their tools on it. You can still, like, you legally have to be able to plug a normal OBD port scanner in and be able to get basic information, but to do anything else like communicate with the CAN bus network, third-party tools can't normally do that because they put this firewall in the way. So Squadron Tuning, when they send you that box, they also send you another box, which you have to, it's quite fiddly to install, it's like under the steering column, you can't see what you're doing, you have to just feel around, and you basically unplug two wires from a factory box, plug them into this box that they send you, and kind of tape it up in there somewhere. I will say, if you're doing that yourself, if you're in the UK or anywhere that drives with the steering wheel on the right hand side, all the guides you'll find online for installing that bypass thing all say that the box you're looking for is on the right hand side of the steering column. it's not. It's always closest to the centre of the car. So if you're left-hand drive car, yeah, it'll be on the right. But for us in the UK, you have to reach up and to the left. Just a small tip for you there, because I spent ages reaching around on the right and couldn't find it. But yeah, once you get that installed, then you can literally just plug the OBD thing in like I showed in the video, and away you go. And yeah, it seems to be that if you press the brake pedal a bit to start the burnout, that seems to help. Obviously, you can't carry on doing that because then it'll just cut the throttle, which is what happened the very first time I tried this. But yeah, so it seems to be brake pedal and throttle just to start it off, and then come off the brakes, and then the Squadron tuning thing will just hold the front brakes for you. It is a shame you got to jump through such hoops just to do a burnout in a modern car, and at least with this box, it's fairly simple and quick to do. Like if you just leave that plugged in all the time and you just drive around with ABS off, although that then means you're stuck in the normal mode with the slower gear shifts and stuff. So yeah, you probably wouldn't want to just drive around with the ABS off all the time so that you can quickly flick it into burnout mode, because you can't do burnout mode without ABS off, which is that long process that goes through all the error messages, and you have to hold the button for a while, and you have to be stationary, all that stuff. So it's not like you can just quickly go, oh, I want to do a burnout, press a button, do it. It's still quite an involved process, so it's not ideal, but I think their box does what it says on the tin. It does let you do burnouts in a car that otherwise couldn't do burnouts, so we'll call that a success. Actually, should we do another burnout? One more for the road, literally. Well, that's very disappointing. Now it'll only do one tyre again. I don't know why. I don't know what's different. I've tried loads of different things with the brake pedal, tried about 5 different times, and it just only will do one side, like only one wheel spins. So yeah, I don't know. I think the upshot is it doesn't like doing burnouts, even with an aftermarket burnout box. Bit of a shame, but yeah, it is what it is.